welcome to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 341, and today's date is April 15th, 2014, and the title of this episode is Ukraine slipping into a civil war which will lead to world war? Well, we have to take a look at what's going on here. We understand the United States, the central bankers, with the EU, decided to stage this coup d'etat in Ukraine, to take over Ukraine. They spent about $5 billion. They had their agent provocateurs in the crowds. They had snipers. They went in. They removed the government in Ukraine. They thought they were going to get the entire Ukraine. They didn't accomplish their mission. Crimea had a referendum. They decided, hey, we don't want to be a part of this. We are going to have a referendum to secede from Ukraine, and we're going to join Russia. First problem. Second problem, other military, other regions, other locations, and other generals and other military officers decided to move into the Crimean area. Now we have other regions in Ukraine, Donetsk region, looking to say, we do not want to be a part of this coup d'etat government in Ukraine. We want to be separate and apart, and this is why we're out there. We want our freedom from you, this government that was not elected, this government which is controlled by the central bankers, this government which is going to put us into debt, make us work harder, and have less rights. And this is what the people are doing. So what did Ukraine do? Along with the United States and the central bankers, they started to push out the military. They started to push towards the locations to get the protesters out of there. They're using force at this time. Now, will this spark a civil war? It could. Something could go wrong. Something could possibly happen where the people say, you know what, we're done here. Let's have it. Let's go. We are ready. We want our country back. And this is what the central bankers actually want. They are provoking to have the pro-Russian side do something. This way, they can blame it on Russia. They can blame it on the people to say, this is why we had to do this. They started the war. This is how they accomplish their mission, because we have to understand the goal is the same. They need to start a war to cover up this economic collapse, and this has been their goal all along. They're trying everywhere to do this, and here in Ukraine, this is a perfect opportunity for them to start something, and this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to do it in Syria. They're trying to do it in Ukraine at this time, and we can see they are continually pushing their agenda, and they will not stop. If this does not work, they will move on to another tactic. They will continually do this until they get what they want. Even though the United States and EU are talking about peace, and we want to talk about this in a democratic way, there is no possible way that they're going to do this, because their actions always show us that they don't want peace. They don't want to talk about a resolution. They just want it one way, and if it's not that way, that's the end of it. Let's get into the economic collapse news, and we'll talk a little bit more about what has been going on in Ukraine and what they're planning to do to push this agenda even further. Now, I talk a lot about Europe, the unemployment, and I continually say that unemployment in Europe is continually going to get worse. It's not going to get better. It is completely impossible. The only way it can get better is they remove all the debt and they let the people go out and start over. That is the only way it's going to happen. But right now in this system, the unemployment rates are going to continually go higher. The youth unemployment is going to go continually higher, and the countries will suffer. It will get worse and worse. The people will suffer. And right now, there is a report from Spain's second biggest bank, BBVA, says unemployment will take over a decade to recover to pre-crisis levels. A decade. Do you think the country could last that long the way it's going? Because we know what's going to happen. The unemployment is going to continually go up. The debt's going to go continually go up, and austerity is going to continually happen in the country, and it will not get better. It will only get worse. And this bank's report says the Spanish economy continues to be hampered by low wages. Yeah, well, we're seeing that everywhere, not just in Spain. We're seeing it in Greece, Cyprus, France, Italy, the United States, UK. Wages are not moving up. Products are increasing in dollar cents, but everything else is not. Housing in some areas is continually rising, salaries going down. And right now, the Spanish housing market are less encouraging. Average house prices were down 7.8%. Well, if people aren't working and unemployment is really high and continually going higher, and it won't be better within a decade, how is housing going to be better? It can't be. Although this was a lower fall than in the last 2 years, the number of new house sales were down 2.2%, and the number of new mortgages fell by 27.8%, the lowest in the past 5 years. So in Spain right now, they are having a very hard time. And this is spreading all across the globe. Anywhere where there's a private Western central bank, this is going to everyone is going to see this. It might take a little bit longer to get to your country, but eventually you will see this. It will be completely noticeable. All of a sudden, housing will start to decline. People will be out of work. There'll be more part-time jobs. This will happen every single place. Now, here in the United States, what have we been seeing? We've been seeing pretty much the same thing. But what's very interesting today is that at 8:27 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, all of a sudden, gold was pushed down, slammed down hard to bring it back into the $1,200 range. Because every time gold goes up, this is an indicator that there's something else going on. The dollar is losing value. It's showing that the economy is unstable. They don't want people to catch on. So what do? Every couple of weeks, if you've noticed, they slam down gold, and it came down. And what happened was there was a central bankers decided to dump thousands of gold future contracts worth over $500 million notional and triggered the futures exchange to halt trading in the precious metals for 10 seconds. So they slammed it down hard to bring the gold price down, and it triggered precious metals to completely come to a standstill. They are doing this on purpose because they do not want people to realize what's really going on. If they saw gold going up, people would start thinking to themselves, is there something wrong with the economy? Maybe I should buy gold. But if they see gold continually going down or going up, going down, going up, people just overlook it. They don't think about it, and they say, yeah, there's no problem. Gold isn't going up, so everything's fine. And this is what they're trying to convince everyone of. Now, the Empire manufacturing missed by most in 15 months. This drops to 2014 lows. The 8th month of the last 9, the Empire manufacturing missed expectations, tumble in new orders to their lowest since November. So things are not getting better, even though the government is out there trying to convince us that we're in this recovery, housing is rebounding, recovering, people are buying like crazy, prices are going up. Well, in some areas that is still true, but in most of the areas now, we are seeing housing prices decline. We're seeing mortgage applications plummet, and new home builders, they are completely coming to a screeching halt in building new homes. And right now, the National Association of Home Builders Confidence missed expectations once again. This is the 7th miss in the last 8 months. So what we are actually seeing here is the implosion of real estate. The big money is getting out. Mortgage departments are closing down because they realize there's no one to give mortgages to at this time, and the housing market is starting to crumble right in front of our eyes here. Now, how do we know that people really can't afford any of this stuff? I mean, we see the illusion of the unemployment numbers at 6.7%, but we know it's much higher. But there's a report out there saying that the median household income has come down by 7.3%. And if we look at this, we can see back from January of 2008 when the median household income was at $56,500. It is now at $51,500 and dropping. It has declined ever since that crash in 2008. It has been going down, 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 and not up. So as products continually get more expensive, like food and energy, your income is continually going down. It is getting harder and harder for people to survive, to make ends meet, and it's becoming very, very difficult, especially for those who are retired. This is why you see a lot of the older generation in part-time jobs, because their fixed income cannot keep up with inflation, and as products continually rise, they need another source of income to keep them stable, but prices are continually going up quite quickly, actually, and what they're seeing is that this one part-time job is not really working. And what's funny is I was at the store the other day, and usually I buy a bag of potatoes, and the bag of potatoes only had 8 potatoes in it this time. It usually has 12. And I'm starting to realize that they're cutting the bag of how many potatoes are in each bag. The price is the same, but the number of potatoes in the bag, even though it's done by weight, is much less, but the price is still the same. Now, another great indicator to let us know that this economy is pretty much imploding right in front of our eyes is the Baltic Dry Index. And right now it drops for the 15th day to the lowest level in 9 months. And 2014 is now witnessing the biggest drop in price, a typical season pattern to start the year since records began. Today's drop is $989, the first time below 1,000 since June of 2013. It is the 15th drop in a row. So this is not good. This is an indicator of raw materials, which speculators can't get in there, and it gives us a great indication of where the economy is going. And every time I've been reporting on the Baltic Dry Index, it is continually going down, 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 and dropping, and this is not a good sign at all. Now, we understand that the Fed has been tapering, letting us know that they're cutting back on the amount that they're giving to banks and the amount that they're buying Treasury bonds with, but all of this is a complete illusion. All they did was maneuver into different areas to continually do what they've been doing. They've been using a different channel to siphon off money towards Belgium, because right now, just all of a sudden, Belgium is purchasing Treasury bonds like crazy. Belgium's holdings of Treasuries had soared by a massive amount in the past 3 months, making the tiny country the third largest holder of U.S. paper. Our question is, who is giving Belgium the money to do this? And I pretty much know the answer to that. I'm going to say it's going to be the Fed. Belgium has added a record $141 billion in Treasury since December, or the month in which the Fed announced they were going to start tapering. How convenient. So the Fed really isn't tapering. It is an illusion. They're siphoning money off to different areas to continually do what they've been doing. They're making everyone believe they were tapering to make it look like we're in a recovery. But we know we're not, because this way they can say, when this country hits us with an event, they can say, see, we were in a recovery, we were tapering, we were scaling back, and look what happened. The government of the United States can come out and say, the Fed was doing the right thing, this country attacked us, now look at us. We were about to really go full steam ahead with this recovery. And what we're seeing is that China, and this is why they had to switch gears here, to show that we're in a recovery, give Belgium money, because China's holding of U.S. paper dropped by $2.7 billion to $1.273 billion, and Japan has also picked up the slack of purchasing treasuries. They have a $9 billion increase in holdings, and they increased theirs to $1.21 billion. Russia sold another $6 billion, bringing the Russian total down to $126 billion, the lowest since 2011. So Belgium right now is the front for the Fed to purchase treasury. So China dropping, Russia dropping, they're picking up the tab and buying the treasury bonds. Japan, they're having them pick up the tab to buy the treasury bonds because we can see what's happening. Foreign nations are starting to unload. They're getting rid of their dollar in reserves, and they're removing their treasury bonds from their holdings. And Belgium is now picking up the slack. Fed is channeling the money to Belgium. They have not tapered whatsoever. This is a complete illusion to make everyone believe that we are in a recovery. Now, it seems that with the BLM and the Bundy Ranch, Harry Reid was out there and he was talking to a reporter on KRNV, and he said, it is not over. Well, he said, it's not over. We can't have an American people that violate the law and then just walk away from it. So it's not over, Reid said. So we understand that they are not going to give up on this. They're going to continually push their agenda to try to get this land because they have a business deal. He has a lot of money to make here, and this rancher is in his way. Now, what's very interesting about this, and this is why there are certain people in the government that will never, ever, ever be touched, and we can't do anything about it. Right now, the FBI is completely blocked in doing any type of investigation on Harry Reid. FBI agents working alongside Utah state prosecutors in a wide-ranging corruption investigation have uncovered accusations of wrongdoing by two of the U.S. Senate's most prominent figures, Majority Leader Harry Reid and the rising Republican Senator Mike Lee. But the Justice Department has thwarted their bid to launch a full federal investigation because certain people have the ability to say, you can't touch me, because maybe they have something on somebody else, or who knows what, or they're buddies and saying, they're not going to ever come after me. And this went on to say that the Justice Department Public Integrity Section rejected FBI agents' bid to use a federal grand jury and subpoenas to determine whether the accusations are true and whether any federal crimes were committed by the state and federal officials. And we have to remember the federal government does not own this land. This land is owned by we the people. The Bureau of Land Management manages the land for the people. So the people have the last say in what we do with the land, not the federal government. And if the BLM is going to lease or sell this land, they actually really don't have the right to do this under the Constitution. And if we look at Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, which is the enclave clause, it says, the Congress shall have power to exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over such district not exceeding 10 miles square as may, by cession of particular states and the acceptance of Congress, become the seat of the government of the United States, and to exercise like authority over all places purchased by the consent of the legislator of the state in which the same shall be, for the erection of forts, magazines, arsenals, dockyards, and other needful buildings. So basically what this says is this limits the federal ownership of land only to land underneath federal government buildings and military bases. So they cannot own this land, which they don't. They control to manage it for the people, not to give it to government officials to go ahead and sell it to companies to build solar farms or use it for fracking or use it for other type of development uses. And again, they are in violation of the Constitution. Clive Bundy is not. Now, as I always say, it seems like the government always likes to change calculations that have to do with like GDP, with unemployment, inflation, always to fit their illusion that everything is fine and that the economy is recovering. Well, they're taking this one step further. The Census Bureau, the ones that falsified unemployment data that's under investigation at this time, well, the Census Bureau is changing the way it conducts its annual survey on health coverage in a way that it will make it nearly impossible to measure the impact of Obamacare. How convenient that they're doing this right Now, the change the Bureau is making all but guarantees that the number of uninsured next year, post-Obamacare, will be lower than the number last year, pre-Obamacare. How convenient. But don't worry, the Census Bureau was out there saying that this is coincidental and it's an unfortunate timing. This has nothing to do with Obamacare. You really want me to believe this? That this has nothing to do with Obamacare, that all of a sudden, at this time, in this juncture, that you need to change the way that you handle how you count health insurance. Please. Let's not be ridiculous about this. We know they're changing it because Obamacare is a complete failure. Reports are continually coming out that the 7.1 number is really down to like 1.5 million at this time and dropping fast because people are seeing how expensive this is. They don't have the money to pay, and they're saying, you know what? I'm done with this. I can't afford it. They're not going to give me any benefit anyhow unless I'm really, 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 really sick. So you know what? Right now, I'll just pay the penalty, and if I do get sick, I'll just join up to Obamacare because they take pre-existing conditions. That's all. Very simple. And this is what people are starting to do. Now, we understand DHS wants all of us right now to report on each other for, domestic terrorism, if you have illegal guns. I mean, we see all these laws all across the country. New York has the law that, if you suspect someone having an illegal gun, just tell on them, even though they're not guilty, or if you don't know for sure, just tell on them and we'll start a whole investigation on an innocent person just because someone said something. But don't worry, DHS is now creating an app for this, where the public's reporting of suspicious activity is one of our best defenses against terrorist threats and our greatest resource to building resilience. But what I have a problem with is how this app is going to be used. The app has a button which allows you to take pictures of people to put into a federal database and to keep of all the people that you think are suspicious. This is where I have a problem, because now what the DHS is doing is they're trying to get the people to turn on the people and have them report them and snap a picture, which is automatically sent to DHS to keep in their database, to put into their facial recognition system, and to keep track of them wherever they go. Because now it seems like you are guilty once that picture is snapped because someone decided to do this, because they thought, you walking on the wrong side of the street is kind of suspicious, holding a backpack where they took a picture of you, and now you're some type of domestic terrorist at this point. And you can see how this is not going to turn out later on. Actually, if we look in Germany, Nazi Germany, they had the same type of thing. Tell on your neighbor, we'll give you a piece of bread. Tell on your neighbor, we'll let you go out to do whatever. It seems like they're doing the same exact thing. They want the people to do their dirty work. Now, the FBI and the government is taking gun control to the next level. And what they've been doing now, the FBI agents are now patrolling gun shops. And an agent went into a gun shop, and he was talking to a gun owner. And right now, they are telling him that they are with the counterterrorism operations, and we need to look for people that are suspicious, and if you see something, you need to report it and let us know. And there's some of the criteria. If you see some Middle Eastern guy come in, the FBI says you don't really have to worry about that. What we're really looking for are people talking about being sovereign, such as a sovereign citizen, or people talking about big government. Please report these people. And here's some of the triggers that we need you to look out. And they're putting these little signs up in the gun shops. If you see someone come in and they want to pay in cash, this is a very suspicious person. If they're not going to produce their ID, this is a suspicious person. If they're purchasing, if they have a large purchase, or make unusual inquiries into buying in bulk, this is very suspicious. Lack of knowledge involved in firearms or product usage, very suspicious. Hints of illegal or misuse of explosives, I mean, I don't know. Someone walks in, I just don't understand how someone's going to know that it's illegal or misuse of explosives, but that's one of their warnings. New or unknown customers. So if a new customer walks into your gun shop, wants to get into weapons and target practice and hunting, this person is very, very suspicious. Nervous or evasiveness. This is another person that you should worry about. So we can see what they're trying to do. They are bringing this to gun shops now to help the government track down those people who have weapons. They're doing everything they possibly can to disarm the American people. Now, as we know, there are many agencies that have been buying ammo. We know DHS has, and now it shows that the United States Post Office is also purchasing assorted small arms ammunition, and it's not the only agency that has done this. Social Security has done this. Department of Agriculture has done this. We know the Bureau of Land Management has it. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration also has it. They have all been buying bullets. They have all been buying hollow point bullets and other ammo because they understand when this collapse comes, they will need all agencies to be well armed and ready to go and help control the population. And this is why all these agencies are starting. Because why would the post office need to own weapons and ammunition? They deliver mail and packages. It makes no sense. Now, in Ukraine, we understand there is a lot going on there. We see Ukraine forces being maneuvered into the Donetsk area and to Kharkov. They are making and pushing their agenda forward, all under the control of the United States and the central bankers. And right now, banks are packing up and leaving Crimea as Kiev prepares sanctions against Ukrainian companies. Ukraine's parliament is due to approve Tuesday legislation that will prohibit any state-regulated economic activity, including banking, in Crimea. So banking customers will be able to close their accounts and return deposit funds and can still use the bank's other Ukrainian branches. And we can see they're pushing the agenda forward. And right now, as we know, Ukraine has launched their anti-terrorist operations that began in the north of Donetsk, and they're pushing this forward. And what's happening is the Ukraine forces are not listening to the people. They don't care what they say. And of course, the Western media and the U.S. government is out there saying that these are the terrorists. They don't deserve to have freedom or democracy. And of course, this is what they were using back when the opposition was taking control, that these people wanted freedom and democracy and we should support them. But now the people who want to secede from Ukraine because they see it has been overtaken by a puppet government that is not elected, they don't want to belong to this Ukraine and they want to secede from it. These people are now terrorists. But some of the people in Donetsk are out there saying something, saying all different things about Ukraine and what is happening. And here's some of the people. If they start attacking us with weapons, we'll figure out how to arm ourselves. Again, these people do not have weapons. They have bats, they have bars, they have things like that, but they don't have actual weapons that they're actually using. And this has come from Oleg, a protester who says he is a former presidential bodyguard. I did not just come here today. I've been here from the beginning, Oleg says. The authorities in Kiev don't listen to us. They just want us to feed those Nazi collaborators. I belong to a self-defense unit of the Donetsk People's Republic, Sergei says. We are here to defend the building of the regional administration from the right sector. And these people are out there, just like the people at the Clive and Bundy Ranch against the U.S. government, saying, no, this is not right. You don't have the authority to do this. You are not listening to the people at this time. The same thing is happening in Ukraine. The forces are not listening to the people because they really don't care what the people say. And of course, Ukrainian military op commanders out there and the Ukrainian general leading the operation against protesters in the east of the country has warned that the activists who refuse to lay down their bats, their crowbars, and any other weapons they have, they will be destroyed. Again, the central bankers, U.S. government, they only know one thing, and that is to go in with force, to force the people to do what they want. Now, of course, the White House is out there, and Jay Carney is out there saying Russia is indirectly supporting provocations. You mean like the United States did when they paid for the $5 billion for the coup d'etat to overthrow Ukraine's government after they made an agreement and the United States, Germany, France signed off on it? That's very interesting. Ukraine has to respond to provocations in Ukraine, Carney says. U.S. admiring restraint Ukraine government has shown. You mean bringing in military helicopters and tanks to the regions is restraint? I don't know. That shows me that, to me, that's a sign of force. U.S. will keep pressing Russia on de-escalation. Well, these are the people who want democracy and freedom and to secede from Ukraine, and you're forcing them because they don't agree with the government. Ukraine is in a very dangerous situation, Carney says, and U.S. is not considering lethal assistance to Ukraine. Carney reiterates U.S. doesn't see military Ukraine solutions, which means they are going to use military lethal assistance, because what we're seeing right now, we understand that the CIA director is there on site in Ukraine. Also, several U.S. agencies, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Department of Justice, and the Department of State, have commissioned their specialists to Ukraine to help coordinate the activities of Ukrainian state structures on issues of security, law enforcement, interior affairs, and international contacts, since the Ukrainian authorities are unable to do it themselves. Since Ukraine's regular army has demonstrated poor efficiency, where they're not really following instructions, they don't really want to fire on their own people, so they're not really going along with this new coup d'etat government. And they're not, and what this goes on to say is that they're not reliable in respect of the new authorities. Well, of course they're not. The Americans recommend the Ukrainian leaders, while staging a counterterrorism operation, to use the army only to cordon off the outer boundaries. Actually, make sure the army is nowhere around the area. Let's bring in our special forces to handle all this, Blackwater, to handle what is going on right here. So, what they decided to do, since they do not have the full support of Ukraine military, and of course we understand that there's thousands, 1,300 Blackwater mercenaries in Ukraine at this time. The Ukrainian presidential candidate Tymoshenko announced on Tuesday the creation of a national resistance movement. Don't be fooled by the title. Those are special forces that will be going into every region and every city in Ukraine to maintain order. Power structures and the army cannot cope fully with the tasks, yes, because they will not go along with your instructions from the new coup d'etat Ukraine government. Therefore, there is a need to create special teams in every city. Thus, special mobilization centers will be created on the base of our offices, and these teams will maintain control in the regions. These are special forces specifically designed to put down the people. This is why this is being created. And when the government of the United States says we will not be using lethal assistance, they will be, because you have to remember, and I've always said this, whatever they say, it's always the opposite. And right now, they are provoking. They want Russia to do something. They want the people to do something so they can go all out on the people to start the civil war. This is their agenda. This is their goal. They need this to go hot. This is what they're trying to do at this time. Now, what we're seeing here is that in Syria, we understand the rebels are losing ground. Assad has been winning back his country. We understand that weapons have been flowing in to Syria. They've been training thousands upon thousands of people in separate bases in Jordan, then smuggling them into Syria. And right now, a video has caught Syrian rebels holding U.S. anti-tank rockets weapons, and they are American built. So we have proof now that, yes, the United States is now arming all Syrian rebels. We are getting ready for something to go hot. And you have to remember, the embassies in the United States, the Syrian embassies, have been shut down. The officials are no longer allowed to stay in the United States. Something is going to go hot. If they can't get the crisis in Ukraine and the war going in Ukraine, they will move to Syria, or they'll do them at the same time, because they don't care. The players are the same. The players are North Korea, Russia, China, Iran, Syria. It's all the same. All the BRIC nations, Brazil, Venezuela, all the same. They want this to go hot. Now, we understand that the U.S. government, the central bankers, see the economy collapsing. I report on this every day about how things are just getting worse and worse. The economy is not getting better, no matter how much propaganda is out there, how much they want you to believe that we're improving. They did this all the way up to 2008 before it crashed. I mean, really, everyone was shocked, like, oh my God, how did this happen? Well, if you really look back during the whole entire period, you can see everything was plummeting, declining, imploding on itself, but no one was reporting it. They were reporting in the corporate media that we were recovering. The same thing is happening now. But what's interesting, and we understand that there will be some type of an event here in the United States. And they've been warning us of cyber attacks. They've been warning us of lone wolf attacks. But there is a new report out there, and the report says that states need to protect themselves from an EMP. And right now, 12 states have launched initiatives to protect the electrical grid from the dangers of an electromagnetic pulse, which is an EMP, which will knock out the electric grid. Alaska, Arizona, Florida, Kentucky, Maine, New Hampshire, New York, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Texas, Utah, and Washington have in different ways demanded that utilities upgrade their systems to protect against EMPs. EMP Task Force on National and Homeland Security, they are trying, right now, these states are trying to protect themselves from what is coming, and they were instructed to do so. So this just leads me to believe at this point that this event is getting ready to move forward. And we can see that from Janet Napolitano and from all the other government officials that have been letting us know that we're going to see some type of power outage or an attack on the power grid, that we're going to see lone wolves and bomb makers making bombs and exploding them. They've been telling us that, they've been capturing these people to keep it in our minds, that they've been reading the Inspire magazine with Al-Qaeda, that people are getting ready to make bombs. The Malaysian flight, is still missing. They still, all this pinging and all this stuff never pans out because this flight is going to be used for something else. We understand that Israel has this airline, a duplicate of this airliner, in storage at this time. We can see how all of this is starting to fit together at this point, and everyone needs to be ready. And again, I do not have a crystal ball. I look at the indicators of what is going on, and everything is starting to lead me to understand what they're trying to do at this point. You can see everything is escalating at this time. Ukraine situation, Syria situation. We have ships in the Black Sea. We have the base in Jordan training troops upon troops. We have the CENTCOM base. They're getting ready to do a strike into Syria. Weapons have arrived in Syria. The embassies in the United States for Syria have been shut down. The Israeli embassies have been shut down. How convenient this happened to occur at the same exact time when this pay raise was going on for 2 years, but they decided to shut them all down now. And we can see that all of this is starting to make sense, and we're seeing this come full circle, that they are getting prepared and ready to do something. And this is why everyone needs to be ready. And even if, let's just say, this is completely wrong and they're not going to do anything. Ukraine situation, it's going to de-escalate. Everything's going to be fine. Ukraine's going to go back to normal. They don't care about Syria anymore, and they're just going to let Assad have the country. No biggie. What's the worst thing? you have water, you have extra medical supplies, you have food, so you drink it, you eat it, you use the medical supplies. You have weapons, that's good for you, protect your family from other things. Um, but it's a win-win situation. So you bought gold and silver, great. That will um, protect your wealth in the long run because the dollar is devaluing. So in this circumstance, it's a win-win situation no matter what happens. But what I'm seeing right now is all indicators are pointing to that something is going to happen. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.